All right, Pick Six brought to you by Davidson's Liquors, and today's topic, after the Broncos sign Evan Mathis, is name the 6th greatest offensive guards in Broncos history.
Let's go on first here, because I would like.
Mark is first.
I'm curious to what you guys say.
Okay.
I'm curious.
Number 6.
We need a drum roll or something.
Yeah, breaking news.
We don't have it.
Okay.
Oh,
Do you know your 6?
not the piece of paper
Do
I
you
gave
guys
you.
have it? You have it written
Well,
down somewhere?
can we go to somebody else?
All right, let's go to last.
Okay, we'll go to me.
All right.
I have
My-
one major difference between the two of you.
Okay, my 6 greatest guards, offensive guards in Broncos history. I'm going to start with a guy from the 1960s who played on some very bad Broncos teams, but made 2 Pro Bowls, AFL Pro Bowls, or All-Star teams, I should say. Jerry Sturm, who still lives around town, by the way.
Yes, he does.
Owns 2 restaurants.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been to his restaurant.
Number 5, I'm going to go with a guy who protected John Elway's left side for a long time, sometimes a tackle, but also sometimes a guard. Played a long career here. I'm going with Dave Studdard.
1 year as a guard. He
Yeah,
didn't
that's a
tackle his
tackle.
whole
Come
career.
on.
He played
He was
guard.
never guard.
He played guard.
Oh,
1
he
year,
wasn't.
played guard.
We're protesting
Number 4.
that pick.
Chris Cooper,
Yeah.
who was on the show last week. When Chris was healthy, he was really, really good and a captain on the offense, made the Pro Bowl 1 year. I'm going with Chris Cooper. Number 3, one of the toughest SOBs I've ever experienced in any sport.
Yeah.
He was gritty, and didn't take you-know-what from anybody. Keith Bishop, who now works for the
bricks
Broncos.
from anybody.
Yeah, who now works for the Broncos in security. Number 2.
Kicked out a lady with a baby the other day. Talking about tough.
Number 2, I'm going with Stink. He owns 3. He owns 3 Super Bowl rings. 2 of them with the Broncos. He was really good, and he played through so many knee problems, so many injuries. Mark
I
Schlereth is
have
number 2.
diabetes. Would you use that in whether I'm any good or not?
And number 1, I'm going with Vasquez, who had one of the greatest seasons as an offensive lineman in Broncos history a couple of years ago. Nobody touched Peyton Manning if they tried to come through Louis Vasquez.
So
those are my 6.
That was good, but that wasn't. Sears has good, better, and best. Their
2-minute
tools
warning.
and stuff are good, better, and best.
Kids.
That was good.
Number 6, I'm going to go with Chris Cooper, already mentioned. Number 5, Jerry Sturm. Because I know him as a restaurateur, rather. Number 4, you have to go with Keith Bishop, because he was as much of a sheriff on the offensive line as there's ever been. You guys didn't have this one, and this is almost he wasn't here very long, but I think he might have been one guy as mean and tough as Keith Bishop. Brian Habib.
I had him on he was one of my choices.
Okay. He's number 3.
I don't think people realize that he started here for about 6-7 years.
You're right, and I strongly believe that he should be in the top 6. Number 2 and number 1, Woody is not going to like, so I will be brief because they're very similar to yours. Louis Vasquez, number 2, and number 1.
You went Schlereth number 1?
I'm going Stink, and it's Woody is
See,
like
that's based
insulted.
on no,
I got him all fired up.
I like Mark, but that's based on. I mean, he was in like 2 Pro Bowls, maybe 1. He
many
was
Super Bowl
good.
rings
He
has he
was
got?
not great. I mean, and I don't have Jerry. I don't have. What are you holding up? Fingers?
He asked how many Super Bowls Stink has. 3. 2 here and one with
yeah,
Washington.
but you know, so did the guy that was who was called Chicken. There was a safety.
Tyrone
Tyron
Braxton?
Braxton?
Yeah. Would you put him as one of the great safeties in the history of the Broncos because he played in a bunch of Super Bowls? Number 6, I have Mark Schlereth.
Okay, I'm glad he made the
He's on-
list.
he's on
I'm
the
glad
list.
he made the cut at all.
He was really good, but he was not number 1 or number 2. You guys don't have any historic perspective. I didn't put Jerry Sturm on, and you talk
I've only
about
been here 31
you know him
years,
as a
so-
restaurateur. I know him as a fellow drinker and golfer. We spend some time putting down some
Serious
drinks.
putts.
He's got a great restaurant where you go, where he's got all the helmets. He played at Houston and places like that. He's got jerseys, and he's got great stories. Number 5, Chris Cooper. If you look at it, this is a tougher list than what people. When I came up with this question, Habib, Tony Jones was a great offensive guard, but only for a year that he really started here. Number 4. So I've got some. Bob Young, and I don't know how you guys could leave Bob Young out. Bob Young was a Hall of Fame candidate. He wasn't. He was a starter here for 4 or 5 years. He became a fitness coach, a strength coach in the NFL. He was an assistant coach for a long time. Bob Young was probably the greatest guard they ever had. His career was basically in Houston, but he was a starter here.
You only have him at number 4.
Yeah.
Well, he was a starter here for 4 or 5 years, and he was the best guard in the league then. You guys know he was great. I have him in number 4 because he belongs in your top 6. Number 3, Louis Vasquez. Short-term of duty here. But, yeah, he would be in the top 3 of all time. But I think the 2 I got are better than him. And both of you guys got one of them on your list, and you didn't even mention the other guy because you don't know anything about the history of the Broncos. Number 2, Keith Bishop was the guy who said, guys, we got him right where we want.
Yep.
99 yards away from the goal. He not only was the sheriff, the protector, he was actually John Elway's security guard away from the field, which helped John Elway get through 16 years for a lot of different reasons. And Keith is the director of securities, and he went off and joined the DEA and went to Afghanistan, and he arrested a lot of drug guys. He is mean. Number 1 was Paul Howard. You guys don't even. He was a starting guard here for like 13 years. He's a Pro Bowler. He played in the first Super Bowl. If he'd have played for the Steelers when they were he would be in the Hall of Fame.
He was a tough guy.
Paul Howard was the best guard that ever played here that people have never heard of or never paying attention to. Paul Howard was the greatest.
He's kind of a mystery man.
Sorry, Paul.
Right? Kind of a mystery man. I remember when I first got here, he just disappeared. You remember that? He just disappeared. Nobody knew where he was.
Paul shows up every once in a while at reunions and stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't talk much. You know,
he's like the
back
Yeti.
Before the offensive lineman didn't talk, he didn't talk
Went
at
off
all.
into the woods, just disappeared.
Paul Howard was Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know you don't know anything other than he was a great guard.
Yeah,
So,
I considered him. Bob Young, I knew nothing about. Nothing.
There was another guy named Bob St. Clair that was great here early.
I remember that name.
Elgin
Pick Six.
Danaher, yeah.
Pick 6 brought to you by Davidson's Liquors. Fans of this show, the sports show, can get $10 off any online order. You have to order $50 or more of product. Go to davidsonsdenver.com. Use the promo code SPORTSSHOW10. Online, davidsonsdenver.com, SPORTSSHOW10.